Gigguk. Much like Socrates is the grandfather of philosophy, Gigguk is the grandfather of anime review YouTube channels.
I'm gonna come.
Though we may see him for his ultimate form, the anime zone, also known as Garnt, this man has been doing YouTube since 2006. Man's been doing this for nearly 2 decades. He must be the pinnacle of anime taste at this point.
The audacity!
To the new viewers, Garnt has never watched
That scene with Nina and the dog, Mike, did you not get the feels from that?
I'm not.
Now you must be wondering, why am I talking about a random anime YouTuber? Well, this Goliath of a human passed down a recommendation to me personally through a YouTube video that was public to everyone. But obviously he was talking to me personally. Look, he even left a message for all of you to subscribe to me.
Like and favorite if you enjoy, subscribe for more of my banter, keep watching anime. Sound
But the semantics here don't matter much. What I'm here to talk about today is the manga in question that he recommended. A story about smoking at the back of the supermarket. It is a slice of life anime. I personally have not kept up inside the sphere of slice of life genre. While everyone deserves a good cry, very particular series catch my eyes nowadays when it comes to regular old day-to-day of people's lives. And I read manga to escape life, not to cry about someone else's. And really thinking back, this is the first slice of life I've given a chance recently since the title Given. Which was a manga and anime that not only made me cry, but never in my life have I rooted for 2 boys to kiss as much as I did reading and watching Given. It was a very good take. If you guys want to watch or read that, that's definitely a good one. But we're not here to talk about Given today. We're talking about this manga. I am anxiously awaiting for that dopamine hit because every chapter I've read of this manga is an absolute banger.
This is a certified hood classic.
And it's still going on today. The story is very simple. A middle-aged businessman whose chronic stress and addiction to nicotine leaves him looking for a place to smoke a cigarette. And unlike in America, where unless there's a specific sign saying smoking isn't allowed, in Japan you need to be in a designated smoking area if you're gonna do it, due to the fact that smoking in public is illegal there. Otherwise, you'll feel the hot stare of judgment from the public eye, and possibly get some police asking you a few questions. Sasaki, our businessman, is then waved over by the mid-20-year-old Tayama, who lets him have a drag in the back of the convenience store that he frequents after work. You see, our boy Sasaki here is a simp. Not for Tayama, initially, but for the cashier he specifically looks for, Yamada. Yamada is a very bubbly and high energy girl that Sasaki not just simps over, but has a genuine admiration for her work ethic, since Sasaki himself works an overbearing job that makes him feel miserable in his day-to-day life. Little does he know, Tayama and Yamada are actually the same person. She just decided to start messing with him when he couldn't recognize her initially, since she has a very different presence in work and outside of work, so they just kind of start bearing this relationship as if she is 2 different people. Sasaki doesn't get much downtime and is a single man in his 40s, so his joys in life are limited. So he finds solace in the pleasant company of being run up by Yamada, and as the story goes on, the constant teasing and conversation with Tayama over the lifespan of a cigarette each chapter. This manga, I think, does 2 things very, very well. The first being the progression of our characters. One of the most interesting things about a mundane and simple story such as this one is how complex our characters are. These 2 characters are not only so fleshed out that each conversation they go through makes you feel for them a little bit more, but the topics they talk about are so relatable that the characters themselves start to come to life in such an authentic way. More like Disney's Pinocchio and less like the storybook version that kills Jiminy Cricket. As the story progresses, little bits of info about these characters also come through each conversation, and the art fully illustrates their feelings for each other as this conversation keeps going, and how strong their bond gets every time they have this smoke together. Generally, this sort of connection and the way they have this subtle dance when flirting each other is an absolute cuteness overload, and it feels very natural as the progression of these characters start to form due to the subtleness of the way they talk to each other. They also play up the fact that Tayama is Yamada to the point where it's just so interesting to see the fact that Sasaki is just such a dense human, he can't see that it's the same person, and now Yamada is actually afraid to show that they are actually the same person because she likes masks the fact that he likes her in both regards and does not want him to see her in any other way and think of her differently due to the fact that both these characters are actually her. I think the other point that makes this manga such a hit is relatability.
Oh, wow! That is relatable!
The manga is super different due to the fact that instead of high school kids, you get actual grown-ups bonding over adult perspectives. Bonding over a smoke is such a very working class sort of trauma bond, and it hits such a specific bone in my body. It's this bone right here. The stresses of work and having that ability to cope with the day-to-day is a very adult struggle, and seeing two people find solace in each other gives the viewer such a real fulfillment that they might not have in their normal life. Now, smoking is a terrible coping mechanism.
Well, first of all, smoking's bad. You shouldn't smoke.
And no one should ever do it. But the plot really does understand that point and even touches on the topic of potential health risks inside of the manga, which adds just so much more relatability to the whole story. And as a love story, it's so realistic. It's not over-the-top romance or an antiquated love story of high school kids or kids just getting into college. It's two fully developed adults finding dependency and having a very relatable built-up in feelings from just vibing and spending time with each other. It's such a real feeling story that anybody, and I think for most cases, most adults could end up in this real life scenario if it really came about. Two of the hardest things I think that happens when you get older is making new social connections and dating. When meeting someone and keeping in touch with them in a public setting like this manga does is such a dream come true for so many adults who are willing to shoot their shot at even just a pleasant social interaction. And that's because as you get older, you get lonelier. You don't have, the mundaneness of having to spend time in high school. You don't know who you're going to end up with at work, so you don't exactly want to always bond with those sort of people, especially if you end up changing jobs a lot. It's such a different feeling when you're an adult making a friend or finding someone you really just spark with. It's much harder as an adult. It's why dating apps exist. But this manga really shows a perspective of being able to just be social and polite with people, and you may have the opportunity to get sort of relationships or friendships that you never thought you could. And I think for a lot of adult manga readers, this level of relatability needs to be in more manga, because it's not just escapism. It's a story that people can use to have a new light of perspective on how they want to socially interact with people in their day-to-day. It's such a realistic take on such a subject that I could believe that other people would want to try to be more social just after reading this sort of manga. I think Gigguk is such a real one for making a video about this topic, because not only have I found a new favorite manga, I completely agree that you guys should give this manga a shot. I do believe that this manga deserves so much more attention, and I also believe that this manga just deserves to keep going and be inspiration for other slice of lives to end up a lot more like this one versus the classic high school trope. Hey, thanks for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, then just click right here and watch some of your other content. I try really hard to entertain you guys, and I think a lot of my content right now is really hitting that mark, so go ahead and click right there, and I hope I see you guys again. See ya.